Hi guys, I'm Woodcraft Hamster and I wanted to have a little chat today about my EDC, which you've seen before, and particularly my Swiss Army knife out of the EDC. And what I wanted to do was just set myself a little challenge in order to try and make something just with my EDC penknife. And what I thought I'd do is maybe try and make a something for the camp, and I was thinking maybe a spoon or a spatula or something like that. And I thought what I'd do, I'm just going to take down a very small branch here, which hopefully will be ideal for my purposes. Now this is a fallen tree. This branch is still sort of growing a little bit, so it's quite fresh, which is good for carving. And what I wanted to do is just show you how sort of efficient the small saw there on the Swiss Army knife is, just to take down a small branch like this. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that's taken sort of just under a minute, I think, just to take this branch off. And what I'll do, I'm just going to take this part off here, and you know, this is by no means the most efficient saw going. You know, something like a Baco Laplander or one of my silky saws would be a lot more efficient, but I wanted to see what I could do with just this penknife. So there we go, and as I said before, you know, this is a really efficient saw blade. The only reason it falls down a little bit is that it's not particularly long, so you cannot get the long cutting pulls that you would do on a bigger saw. What I'll do, let me just move the camera around to somewhere a little bit more convenient, and I'll show you what it is I'm going to do. Okay guys, so all I'm going to do now is just take the knife blade here. And I'm just going to make this into, in fact I'm not even sure what I'm going to make yet is the brutal answer. But what I think I'm going to do is just sort of start paring this down a little bit and make a sort of a rough sort of spoon or spatula shape. So this, hopefully it's something I could use for maybe cooking with, maybe even picking up my food once I'm finished. And you know, the Swiss Army knife has got a very good blade, as you can see. You know, as long as you keep these sharp, they'll do really, really well for you. And the one thing to remember when using something like a Swiss Army knife that doesn't have a locking blade is just be very careful when you're using it, because what you don't want is to accidentally move the wrong way and have the blade come back on your hand. I have seen people do it and it's not very pretty, so you just need to sort of take a little bit of care while you're doing that. So again, so what I've got here guys, I've just pared this down, so this is now, I've got no bark on here, and it's a nice sort of square section. Hopefully you can see that reasonably well on the camera there. Now I can quite happily use this when I'm cooking, just put it in the pan, move my food around, get it underneath and flip it over. I can make this end piece here slightly more acute, more sort of blade shaped, I suppose, just to allow me to sort of, you know, if I'm cooking a bit of bacon or something like that, or a piece of steak, I can use that nice and thin to get sort of underneath and just sort of flip things over. And that's perfectly fine, you know, that's a nice little test of the EDC. But actually what I'm going to try and do now, and this may or may not work because I haven't tried this before, is I'm going to use my saw and I'm going to put 2 cuts down here, and I'm going to see if I can turn this into a fork. So basically once I finish cooking, what it will then allow me to do is use this as a fork. Now obviously I can cut this down a little bit, but I might just do that now, thinking about it. So that's now a more reasonable size, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to put 2 little saw cuts in here, and see if I can turn this into a fork, so I've got something to eat with when I finish cooking. Okay, so hopefully you can see that, guys. I've got 2 quite thin, narrow cuts in there. I'm not making them too long because obviously the wood is quite thin. If you make them too long and then too thin as well, they're just going to snap on you. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move the camera a bit closer in so you can see what I'm doing. And I'll show you where I'm going to go from here. Right then, guys, so I'm back to using the knife blade. And what I want to do, starting from the inside, so it's the inside of these cuts, not the outside. I just want to start, let me move myself around a little bit so hopefully you can see this a bit better. So what I want to do is just very carefully start paring away on the inside here. So on this one and on this one. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing there. And then flip it round, same thing again, and very, very gently just paring down. And this is kind of where your knife skills, and especially your sort of fine control of your knife, come in. And this is a really, you know, learning how to do this and do this well and safely is in my mind a really important skill. And then again you want to come in from the other side, and this is where it gets a little bit fiddly. I'm naturally right-handed, so what I want to do is put the blade here and push with my thumb, but to get this side on the left here I kind of have, it's very counterintuitive, but it can be done. You just need to take a little bit more care. So you kind of see how we're getting along here. The middle tine of this fork is actually in pretty good shape, and I don't want to make it much thinner than this, otherwise it will risk snapping. When you can sharpen up these points ever so slightly, just to give you something to sort of stab in to whatever it is you're eating. And then from the outside, I'm just going to tidy up the other 2 tines. And again, you don't want these too thin, Can't stress that enough. Just spend a little bit of time, just sort of point off the tops of these. So there we go, guys. There is my fork. It's certainly not pretty by any means, and you can make these a lot nicer looking. And I may tidy this up in a minute, just to sort of make it a little bit prettier. But just to give it a quick test, here is just a piece of sort of dead punk wood that I've found, so just to simulate a piece of food. But by making sure these aren't too sharp and too pointed, and basically I can pick that up, and this is a lot harder than a piece of bacon or sausage or bread or whatever it is you might be eating. But you know, it's done no damage to those tines whatsoever. You know, it will push in with not too much force, and it's perfectly usable. Okay guys, well, I've given this a little bit of a tidy up. Again, it's still not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's certainly more functional, and it will certainly do the job that I wanted it to do. And again, I mean, really the purpose of this video was just to show that within sort of 5–10 minutes in total, I suppose, with just a Swiss Army knife, you know, just what I carry with me in my pocket, I've been able to make firstly a sort of a mini spatula that I can use for cooking, and then secondly, you know, a very basic fork that will allow me to eat my dinner with. So you know, I haven't got to carry any extra cutlery with me. I haven't got to do anything like that. And again, it's just another thing that you can do if you're out and about bushcrafting, whether you're just going out and cooking yourself a meal for lunch or you're staying over for a few nights. You can very simply and easily make your own utensils and make your own equipment while you're out in the field. But anyway guys, hope it was useful. Comments and questions in the box below. Subscribe if you would like to see more, and I hope to see you all next time. Cheers guys.